Fierce clashes between Ukrainian troops and North Korean troops continue. In the Kursk region, reconnaissance drones of the Ukrainian Special Operations Forces counterattacked the North Korean soldiers they detected. According to news sources, 21 North Korean soldiers were killed and 40 were wounded. Reconnaissance drones gave coordinates to Ukrainian soldiers. This allowed the soldiers to fire directly at their targets. It was a hot battle, both from the air and on the ground. Combat work of the 42nd Ombre in the Toretsk and in the Kharkiv directions. Toretsk, once a flourishing city, now wiped off the face of the earth. Russian armored vehicles, tanks and vehicles for various purposes were destroyed at the Yan Tarny location. The tanks and armored personnel carriers were attacked one after the other in a coordinated effort by the operators of the FPV drones. The explosives on the FPV drones do not have great power, but if they can target the right spot on the tanks or armored vehicles, they can destroy the vehicles. Especially since FPV drones have a low cost and are used for many different purposes, they are used very frequently on the battlefield. Soldiers of the demolition team in the Kursk region destroyed the following: a gun, a motorcycle, a cannon, a moving tank crashed, and many more. After the Russian infantry fighting vehicle was spotted by Ukrainian paratroopers, it was immediately attacked in quick succession. The Russian vehicle, which then tried to hide in the bushes, was rendered unusable as a result of repeated drone strikes. US APC and Russian BMP vehicles were neutralized from these attacks. Destruction of a rare Russian Nona SVK self-propelled artillery on a BTR-80 chassis. With fewer than 20 units left in Russia's arsenal, this one was destroyed by an FPV drone pilot from the Birds of Magyar unit. Ukrainian paratroopers repel attacks by Russian troops in Kurshina. Russian troops conducting several operations at the same time have become targets of FPV drones and artillery shelling. Several Russian vehicles and bunkers were destroyed in hot battles in the Kursk region. Russian troops are sending armored vehicles and assault group infantry to increase their influence in the region. Artillery fire, cluster bombs, and drones have repelled the attacks. Shelters and motorcycles were destroyed by drones. Cluster bombs are very effective in stopping infantry and forcing them to retreat. Infantry hiding in ruined houses and underground bunkers could not escape FPV drones. The 65th Separate Motorized Infantry Brigade's SUV was attacked immediately after being spotted by Ukrainian paratroopers. As a result of the drone attack, 2 Russian infantrymen got out of the damaged vehicle and ran into the woods to hide. They then tried to hide in the ruined bunker, but a second drone attack took place. Russian troops are attacking Ukrainian positions with all the means at their disposal: rocket launchers, artillery, cars, motorcycles, scooters, and many more. This Russian vehicle, very visible in the open terrain, was hit with a precision strike by a Ukrainian drone. The whole crew tried to escape from the vehicle, which then caught fire, but without success. Ukrainian paratroopers carried out a drone attack on a vehicle in the direction of Kharkiv. The infantrymen in the vehicle drove away, entering a densely forested area. A second drone attack was carried out on the vehicle left by the infantrymen, and the vehicle was destroyed. A drone operator who noticed a Russian vehicle abandoned on the road but in working condition attacked and destroyed it. A joint effort by Ukraine's 36th Marine Brigade and the 414th Unmanned Attack Aircraft Systems Birds of Magyar Battalion destroys Russian heavy equipment. If you are in an armored vehicle, just because your vehicle is armored does not mean that you are safe. Yes, this armor can protect you from many attacks. However, if the FPV drone hits the sensitive point of your armored vehicle, it is almost impossible for the vehicle not to be destroyed. Similar situations occur in these images. Some vehicles are destroyed, others are slightly damaged. Soldiers usually get out of the slightly damaged vehicle. After the soldiers get out, they try to escape to safe places. But that's when the FPV drones attack the soldiers. Both countries use this tactic. In the Zaporozhye region, a Russian Buyuk M3 medium-range air defense system was attacked and destroyed twice by a Ukrainian FPV drone while traveling alone on the road. Russian troops trying to advance in the Kursk region were caught by Ukrainian FPV drone operators. Ukrainian attack drone operators went to the coordinates given by reconnaissance drones and attacked Russian armored vehicles. A Russian tank burned down after several FPV drone attacks. The Russian crew, whose vehicles were destroyed, tried to hide in bunkers, shelters, and ruined houses. However, Ukrainian drones continued to attack one after another. Russian troops trying to advance in the Kursk region were subjected to successive drone and artillery howitzer attacks. Ukrainian drone operators, who continued their mortar attacks uninterruptedly, repelled the Russian troops. Russian troops suffered significant losses in these attacks. In particular, their weapons and military equipment and various material resources were destroyed. Soldiers who got out of the attacked armored vehicles hid in shelters and forest areas. However, the advanced technologies on FPV drones are capable of seeing everything that moves. No matter how strong the protection of the tank or armored vehicle you are using, if the FPV drone manages to hit the sensitive point of the vehicle, it is impossible not to be destroyed. Russian troops trying to advance have retreated for now as a result of the Ukrainian airstrike. For the operation in the Kursk region, the Russians have organized a large contingent. The assault team includes more than 50 soldiers, nearly 10 armored vehicles, and more than 5 tanks. The plan was to attack Ukrainian positions and destroy warehouses, armored vehicles, howitzers, bunkers, and tanks. When the Russian units set off for the attack, the 47th Mechanized Brigade realized the whole plan and counterattacked with drones and howitzers. Ukrainian defense forces used all their strength to push the Russian unit back. Reconnaissance drones reported the positions of tanks and armored vehicles to artillery units. At the same time, attack drones quickly mobilized and started attacking the vehicles. 3 tanks worth $6.6 million destroyed. 7 infantry fighting vehicles worth $7.7 million were destroyed. Some of the crews inside the vehicles could not get out of the vehicles. Some of them hid in forested areas. The 72nd Separate Mechanized Brigade hit a vehicle standing alone on the road with an FPV drone, and it was destroyed by fire. Fighters of the 1st Brigade Buravy are working on the enemy on the southern outskirts of Kolesnikivka. The defense forces managed to thwart Muscovites' attempts to expand the zone of control in Krugliakivka and Kolesnikivka village. The situation of Russian soldiers is critical. The situation near Lozovaya is more critical, on which the constantly exerted pressure occupied and is trying to continue developing its success. It is just as difficult now in the Pershatravnev area, where the does not stop its pressure in the direction of Kopanok. Ukrainian reconnaissance drones reported the coordinates of the lone Russian tank to attack drones. The attack drone then quickly attacked the front of the tank and destroyed it with a single strike. As seen in this video, FPV drones have completely changed the course of war. It is possible to destroy or render unusable tanks worth millions of dollars with a $500 drone. Or it is possible to locate hiding soldiers and blow up a building or a hut. What are your thoughts about FPV drones? Write in the comments. The FPV drone in the north blew up the bunker without being hit. It also blew up towers with equipment, a truck, and a BMD. Drones and tanks of the 12th Brigade Azov are dismantling the occupiers, repelling a mechanized assault. Russian assault group launched an attack on the positions of the defense forces in the Toretsk direction. For the attack, the enemy used several units of armored vehicles, including BMPs and MTLBs. Operators of the strike drones from the 12th Special Purpose Azov Brigade began targeting enemy units as they approached the defenders' positions. The combat crew of the Azov Tank Battalion also joined in. The enemy continues its attempts to advance in the Toretsk direction. The Azov forces are doing everything they can to hold off the enemy and destroy as many targets as possible. A Russian tank moving through the trees could not escape the Ukrainian FPV drone operator. The drone, moving through the trees with agile maneuvers, hit the tank with a direct hit. Then the second drone attack took place, and the tank was destroyed by fire. A Russian Lancet model kamikaze drone was destroyed by Polish paratroopers. A group of Russian soldiers are in the back of the truck. A Ukrainian reconnaissance drone monitors the situation and reports it to the attack drone. Then, without wasting any time, the attack drone quickly attacks the vehicle and destroys it by burning it. A Ukrainian fighter jet strikes the location of Russian soldiers in Kherson region with high-precision AASM-250 hammer bombs. A video showing the explosion of the Tarnovska Dam at the Kurakov Reservoir has surfaced. According to TSN, water from the Kurakov Reservoir has been flowing into the Volga River, moving towards the villages of Bohatyr, Andriivka, and Oleksivka since yesterday. Authorities have stated there is no risk of flooding in Kurakov, and residents in high-risk areas have been evacuated. A coal train has derailed in Yakutia in the Russian Federation. The incident occurred yesterday on the Elga-Ulak track, where 39 cars with coal derailed. 200 to 250 meters of track are blocked. A large amount of special equipment is needed to fix it. There seem to be a lot of derailments in Russia.
Локомотив 029 с 16-го разъезда применил экстренное торможение на 12 километрах в час.
North Korean 170mm Koksan self-propelled artillery systems in the Kursk region of Russia. North Korean artillery is now used to fire shells in mainland Europe. In the direction of Vovchansk, the artillery of the Garth Brigade of the Border Guards fired almost continuously day and night. Shelters and firing positions were accurately hit and destroyed or severely damaged. Among the places destroyed were a warehouse with an electric generator, dense concentrations of personnel, ammunition, supplies, and various equipment. Drones play an important role in the positioning of artillery. With the accurate calculations of FPV drones, the ruined houses and bunkers where Russian soldiers were staying were blown up one by one. Since the FPV drones have good visibility both day and night, it is almost impossible to escape from the heat-sensitive cameras. Abandoned vehicle destroyed after FPV drone attack on moving Russian vehicle. In Kharkiv region, border guards hit 3 cars, 3 bunkers, and 1 communication vehicle. I think the most horrible moment of attack on the battlefield is by drones, because drones are almost impossible to see with human eyes. Because drones are small and very fast, they can show up at any moment and attack you when you least expect it. Even though drones are a small technological tool, they can cause great damage when used correctly. Drone operators of the Ukrainian armed forces in the Kursk region attack and destroy armored vehicles of North Korean troops. 3 North Korean armored infantry vehicles are destroyed. Russian forces in the Siversk direction. They managed to strike and destroy enemy equipment, including a T-90M tank and a BMP-2. A Russian infantryman hiding alone in a hut was shocked when a drone suddenly exploded. Fortunately, the drone exploded in the wall, so the soldier was slightly injured. He got up and left. On the Kupiansk front, Ukraine's 14th Mechanized Brigade destroyed 2 Russian MT-LBS advancing towards Ukrainian positions. All the crews got out of the vehicles and started fleeing towards trenches and shelters. If you can use FPV drones correctly and skillfully, you can destroy or render unusable even million-dollar vehicles in one hit. Using drones on the battlefield requires real skill. Destruction of Russian BMD-4M in the Kursk region. The Russians were planning to attack Ukrainian positions with Safari ATVs. The attack UAV operators of the 12th Special Purpose Brigade Azov spotted the plan and immediately sent UAVs to the area, pushing the Russians back. As a result of the UAV strikes, the Russian contingent, which was planning to raid kululs, trenches, and warehouses, was dispersed. ATVs were destroyed. Many infantrymen hid. A group of Russian soldiers are in a damaged building. These soldiers are firing heavy machine guns at a Ukrainian tank. The tank opened fire, targeting Russian troops in the building. A drone attack on the building followed. The Ukrainian tank fired consecutive cannon shots at the Russian troops in the building. A Russian anti-tank vehicle in the Kursk region hit a road mine while traveling and was destroyed by a massive explosion. A drone attack on a gas station in the Zaporizhia region. A huge flame rose into the sky as gasoline and diesel tanks exploded. This station was supplying gasoline to Russian vehicles and crews. Soldiers of the Baltic Group in the Pokrovsky direction are attacking targets with drones in huts and basements where they are hiding. Russian personnel sent a large number of military armored vehicles and personnel to the area. Head-to-head, soldiers of both countries clashed. Then Ukrainian drones attacked the Russian soldiers. Russian soldiers were attacked by drones in the ruined houses and huts where they were hiding. While the Russian troops were pushed back, other soldiers who remained in the square were attacked by massive drone strikes. The attacks were carried out one after the other without a break. I think drones are the most powerful weapon of modern warfare because they have a very cheap cost. They are very fast. They have a destructive effect. They do not get tired, and they have more features than we can count. A well-trained drone operator can destroy armored vehicles worth millions of dollars even with a single hit. But it is almost impossible for a million-dollar tank to evade it. As Russian tanks and armored vehicles advanced in columns, they were shaken by artillery shelling from the 47th Mechanized Brigade. Communicating with drones, the 47th Artillery attacked Russian armored vehicles with 122mm howitzers and mortars. The armored vehicle, which panicked during the attack, went off the road and turned over. The drones provided accurate calculations and information, which enabled the artillery to strike with pinpoint accuracy. The Russian troops were dispersed and repulsed. Russian soldiers whose tanks caught fire planned to hide in a bunker to escape the drones. But the drones were following them step by step. After they entered the bunker, the drones exploded. Other drones attacked Russian vehicles trying to rescue Russian soldiers from the area. Ukrainian FPV drones hit the targets they detect with precision strikes. It is almost impossible to escape from FPV drones. Because drones do not get tired, they do not take a break. If you are confronted with a professional drone operator, you will be lucky to escape. How much have FPV drones affected the course of the war? Is there any way to stop FPV drones? What measures can soldiers take to avoid or neutralize drones? Artillery brigades in the east neutralized Russian vehicles and ammunition trying to advance. Intense shelling forced the Russian troops to retreat and destroyed vehicles on the battlefield. As a result of the good calculations of the FPV drones, the artillery destroyed the tanks with a single shot. Soldiers hiding in wooded areas and bunkers were forced to retreat by intense artillery shelling. Then, with the rapid attacks of the FPV drones, the soldiers in the trenches and bunkers in the forest areas were hit. Masters of the Special Unit Wings of the Department of Active Operations of the Military District of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine discovered and destroyed a Russian artillery position in the Zaporizhia region. To eliminate the enemy target, the scouts used 2 Darts kamikaze aircraft with 3-kilogram combined ammunition and 3 Babai heavy FPVs with 1.5-kilogram cumulative shots. The Russians deployed around 50 pieces of equipment for a massive assault in the Kursk region. The enemy attacks came in 6 waves, involving tanks, BMP-2s, BTRs, BMDs, buggies, and Lancet strike drones. The soldiers of the 47th Mechanized Brigade, together with adjacent units, repelled the assault, destroying enemy equipment worth tens of millions of dollars. Russian troops had hidden drones in the bunker. However, Ukrainian FPV drones discovered this and blew up the bunker. After the explosion, a soldier fled into the woods but was attacked by a FPV drone. It is almost impossible to hide from drones either outdoors or indoors. Because thanks to the advanced heat-sensitive cameras of the drones, all kinds of vehicles and living things are caught by the cameras. As a result of successive drone attacks, Russian troops suffered a lot of losses. Be sure to write your thoughts in the comments. Ukrainian tank crews from the 17th Heavy Mechanized Brigade are attacking Russian infantry in the Kursk region. This image is of a Ukrainian FPV drone hunting other Russian drones over Ukraine. Unexpectedly, the Ukrainian drone is armed with a shotgun. In a stroke of genius, the shotgun manages to destroy other enemy drones in mid-air when they least expect it. Every day, new and different technological tools appear on the battlefield. The battlefield is moving towards an era where only robots fight. Whoever thought of shooting down drones in the air in this way, I am sure that we will see drones equipped with much more diverse and different weapons in the future. The Russians, who plan to storm the positions of the Ukrainian armed forces with a column of armored vehicles consisting of 3 tanks and infantry fighting vehicles, were repulsed thanks to the accuracy of Ukrainian FPV drone operators. The Russian unit, whose vehicles and equipment were destroyed, was forced to retreat. The crew, whose vehicles were damaged, wanted to hide in shelters in forested areas after getting out of the vehicle. However, FPV drones tracked them, and the shelters were bombed by howitzers. It is almost impossible to escape from FPV drones. Thanks to their advanced cameras and heat-sensitive thermal cameras, they can always hit their targets accurately. A Leopard 204 tank crew fires at close range on Russian armored vehicles, attempting to assault positions in the Kurakov direction. Fighting continues in the Kursk region. Russian troops organized plans to attack the 47th Brigade. However, Russian troops were repulsed by drones. FPV operators, in cooperation with spotters and aerial reconnaissance teams, relentlessly attacked the Russians. Russian tanks, infantry fighting vehicles, ATVs, Kamaz trucks, burrows, and bunkers were destroyed. Ukrainian FPV operators fought against Russian troops in the Kursk region. If you can use FPV drones correctly, you can destroy almost all vehicles. In the direction of Kramatorsk, Ukrainian drone operators launched a FPV drone attack on a Russian armored vehicle and destroyed it. They also dropped bombs from the air. The moving vehicle was attacked by a drone and had to pull over to the side of the road. It was then completely destroyed as a result of the bombs dropped one after the other. Footage of the defeat of the Russian assault groups, which tried to repulse the positions near the village of Kruglenko, Kursk Oblast. Kursk region is one of the few areas where Russians actively use armored vehicles, and they lose it. The Chimera unit hit an armored vehicle of the Ural military-industrial complex on the move and 2 BMDs. Another BMD was destroyed. In the Kursk region, drones of the 47th Mechanized Brigade are destroying all tanks, armored personnel carriers, motorcycles, and cars in their path. It takes a lot of skill to hit moving vehicles with pinpoint accuracy. These very small FPV drones are very fast and highly maneuverable. In the Seversky direction, Ukrainian drone operators repelled a large group of Russian motorcyclists. The drone attack started on the group of motorcyclists gathered together. Then the group dispersed, and one by one they were targeted by drones. Soldiers hiding in shelters and among trees failed to escape the drones. The entire group was neutralized. National Guardsmen destroy an enemy Buk M1 air defense system with a precise strike from a UAV. In the direction of Vovchansk, Russian equipment, Communication systems, vehicles, and various military equipment were destroyed or rendered unusable by Ukrainian FPV drones as a result of good calculations. One of the most important things on the battlefield is communication systems. The fastest and easiest way to destroy the enemy's communication systems is to use drones. Because it is almost impossible to send soldiers there, but it is very easy to achieve this with a $500 drone. With a good calculation, a Ukrainian FPV drone pilot epically blew up a Russian BM-21 Grad rocket launcher. How do you think a small FPV drone manages such a big explosion? I guess it's probably because the missiles on the RPG vehicle exploded, and that's why there was such a big explosion. Russian mechanized attacks in the Pokrovsky direction were repelled by professional FPV drone pilots. This tank convoy was neutralized by drone strikes and bombs dropped by the drones. Russian tank convoy units are moving quickly to attack Ukrainian positions. It's very hot and close, and the troops are engaging. Air and ground troops from both countries are engaged in intense fighting. Meanwhile, Ukrainian drone operators, working in concert with artillery units, are firing heavy artillery shells at Russian tanks. At the same time, Ukrainian FPV drones are attacking Russian tanks one after another. Russian soldiers whose tanks are damaged are hiding in bunkers and wooded areas. The BTR-82 is a modern Russian-made armored personnel carrier. It is an improved version of the Soviet-era BTR-80. It is designed for both ground and amphibious operations and is currently in military use in many countries. The BTR-82 was destroyed by fire after a FPV drone attack. The downing of a Russian Lancet drone. Near Vovchansk, Ukrainian FPV drone pilots spotted a Russian vehicle and sent them a gift drone. In the direction of Toretsk, tanks of the 12th Azov Brigade attacked Russian positions and positions. In areas where artillery fire is difficult and drones are difficult to attack, the tanks maneuvered well and launched powerful attacks. The Azov Brigade has played an important role in the conflict in eastern Ukraine and has attracted international attention, both for its military achievements and ideological debates. It was established in 2014 as a volunteer militia to fight against pro-Russian separatists and was later incorporated into the National Guard of Ukraine. A FPV drone in the direction of Sumy accurately hit the armored vehicle it was targeting with a single hit. The Russian troops planned their attack and set out to attack. But there was one thing they did not take into account or forgot. Ukrainian reconnaissance planes were following them step by step. The leading Russian motorized infantry got scared after a few bombings and turned and fled. When the decision was made to retreat, the Russian armored vehicle also turned to go back. That's when the armored vehicle was blown up by an artillery howitzer attack. The Phoenix Brigade managed to repel attacks near Kurdyumovka in the Donetsk region. 2 T-72s, 3 armored vehicles, and 4 infantry fighting vehicles were destroyed. The Ukrainian drone operators unit follows a Russian tank on a lonely road with a FPV drone using fiber optic communication. Then it accelerates, gets in front of it, and attacks without waiting. Why do you think this operator chose to attack the tank from the front? The destruction of the Russian MTLB, the multi-purpose light armored vehicle, as a result of several drone attacks in the direction of Vovchansk. This Russian vehicle is used for the transportation of military personnel, but it is also used to tow artillery systems. It is also used for different purposes to provide logistical support. Ukrainian FPV drone paratroopers carried out a well-calculated attack on bunkers and warehouses. Even though the drones did not penetrate the bunker, they terrorized the people inside. The bunkers contain infantry and various military equipment. Since the explosives on the drones are not enough to blow up the bunkers, they cannot completely destroy the bunkers. A nighttime FPV drone strike on a Russian Panzer S-1 air defense system in the Kherson region. Ukrainian air defense drone operators destroyed the Russian Buk M1 anti-aircraft missile system. The cost of such an air defense system is close to $10 million on average. Target engagement range 3 to 35 kilometers. Target engagement altitude between 15 meters and 22 kilometers. It uses the 9M38 missile and is a radar-guided system. HIMARS cluster munitions operation. The Russians tried to storm this section of the front for several days in a row. Thanks to the efforts of the headquarters of the 225th Separate Assault Battalion, an operation was developed that provided for creating conditions for inflicting fire damage and clearing this sector. The key point was the precise timing of each stage of the action. When the enemy, believing in his success, pulled significant forces into this square, they were targeted with cluster munitions from HIMARS. Ukrainian drone operators destroyed the Russian cars they spotted one by one. Some vehicles were destroyed while in motion. It is a very difficult task, especially to completely destroy a moving vehicle, because vehicles have sensitive points. If you manage to hit the vehicles at sensitive points, then you can completely destroy them. Otherwise, you will only cause damage. That's why FPV operators receive hours of training. Soldiers of the Black Forest Brigade destroy enemy ammunition depots. Each such explosion is a long-term reduction in the enemy's capabilities on the battlefield, the brigade said in a statement. During aerial reconnaissance, border guards found soldiers gathering in the southern direction. They sent 2 FPV drones to attack the gathering of soldiers. The condition of the soldiers is unknown for now. Tank shells were fired at Russian positions at close range. However, the Russian soldiers have already left the positions. I assume that the positions and bunkers were bombed again as a precautionary measure. Footage of FPV drone attack on transport vehicle in Kharkiv region. Destroyed with a single hit after precise calculation. A Russian T-90M breakthrough broke through and through. Almost successful but failed attempt of a Ukrainian FPV drone to shoot down a Ka-52 attack helicopter of the Russian Air Force in the Donetsk region. In the northern direction, Ukrainian border guards destroyed a Russian infantry fighting vehicle. The drone operator entered the vehicle with the door open and ensured that the vehicle was destroyed by fire. The fire at the oil depot in Engels still cannot be extinguished. In the direction of Kurakovsky, a Russian drone was destroyed in mid-air by another Ukrainian drone, a professional drone pilot. A large drone with fiber optical communication hits a Russian armored vehicle with a direct hit. The crew quickly gets out of the damaged vehicle and escapes. Then the second drone attack takes place and the vehicle is completely destroyed. Ukrainian aviation drops a pair of bombs on the location of Russian troops in New York, Donetsk region. In the Kursk region, the UAV battalion of the Nikolaev Marine Corps destroyed several Russian tanks and armored infantry vehicles. These operators, who destroyed tanks and armored vehicles with precision strikes in one go, trained for many hours. They also destroyed mortars, tents, and bunkers with UAVs. Russian troops suffered a lot of damage in these successive attacks. Two Switchblade 600 kamikaze drones hit the Russian Tor-M2 air defense system in the Donetsk region. The Russian vehicle, which wanted to advance towards Ukrainian positions, was attacked while continuing on its way after dropping off the soldiers. Although the soldiers got out of the vehicle and tried to hide in forested areas and shelters, they could not escape the drone attack. Drones can attack day and night because drones have night vision and heat-sensitive cameras. In this way, it can easily see its target and carry out an accurate attack. Hiding in ruined houses does not seem enough to escape drones. Even if you are in an armored vehicle or tank, you may suddenly be attacked by a drone. If the drone is able to attack the engine part of the vehicle, it can cause considerable damage and completely destroy the vehicle. The 4th Mechanized Battalion of the Hetman Bohdan Khmelnytsky Independent Presidential Brigade is destroying enemy equipment columns in the Vremivka salient area west of Vuhledar. The enemy attacked with dozens of tanks, APCs, and IFVs. Aerial reconnaissance detected the movement of the column, and joint efforts led to the destruction of around 20 pieces of equipment. The number of enemy infantry eliminated is difficult to estimate. The video shows the work of the Bulava strike drone pilots from the 3rd Mechanized Battalion and the Khmer drones from the 20th Independent Presidential Special Purpose Brigade. Near Vovchansk, border guards attacked Russian positions, bunkers, drone launch points, fuel and mining depots with artillery. The positions of the Russian positions were reported to the artillery units by Ukrainian drone operators. After careful calculations, the artillery destroyed the Russian positions one by one. As a result of these successive attacks, the Russians suffered considerable damage. Without the drones, the artillery would not have been so accurate. This has been the case in the past. After the advent of drone technology, the course of the war changed completely.